Hello and welcome to a brand new tutorial. This tutorial is going to be all about block manipulation in Hammer 3.4 or 3.5 for gold source, the Half-Life engine. So what you want to do to start off with is you want to go to your Steam library and click on Tools. And down there find your Half-Life SDK as usual and launch it. If you don't know how to set up the SDK and things, then you should probably watch my How to Make a Half-Life Mod tutorial series, because that explains how to configure Hammer and everything. So now you've launched Hammer now, so if we just click New, and I'm going to make a really simple room. So if you click on your Z, press Z, and you can move around in the camera view while your mouse is over the camera view. Move around the 3D view. Then you've got your 4 grids, of course. You can make the grid smaller or bigger with this bracket key. I'm just going to select the texture by going over here and clicking Browse. And down here in this little filter you can type in FL for a floor texture or just floor. And that will filter out which ones are which, and it comes up with lots of different handy floor textures, which is good, which is just what I need. So I'm going to select this texture. Now I've done that, I'm going to create a block by highlighting and clicking and dragging a certain area, and I'll just move it on all 3 other views to manipulate it in the main 3D view. There we go. There's the simple floor. That's going to be the base of my room. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Maybe not that big. That should do. Yep. So anyway. Right, now we want to make 4 walls. Let's really quickly do this. Type in wall in the filter. I'm going to use 50s wall. Again, move it in all the views. There we go. I'll make it about that high, that should do. And if you select your wall in the camera view or on this view, then you can just click on the wall and click and press Shift and hold down Shift and drag. Then let go of the mouse button and let go of Shift wherever you want it, and you just automatically duplicate it. So I'm just going to do that again and rotate it. If you select a block a few times, then it comes with different options. The one with circles on the corner is the one you want for rotation. If you just rotate it like that, then it could go in any direction. But you can be a little bit more precise by using Shift, and you can do it these specific angles. Anyway, I'm just going to undo that. Right, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So I've rotated it 90 degrees. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okie doke. I'll do one more on that side. I'm going to make it like that. And like that. Okay, so we have a simple little room here. All we need to add now is, well, technically we need to add a roof and things and close it off from the outside to prevent a compiler error called a leak. But I'll tell you more about that next time. Anyway, for now we can just really quickly add in a simple info player start entity by clicking on the entity tools and selecting info player start. If you just click it anywhere in the camera view up here, you need to make sure that he isn't going through a floor. This big green blob is that entity. You can make big, bigger and smaller, however you like it then. There you go. Right. Now then, if I select the block tool and I click on browse again, find another texture, I'll type in seal this time for ceiling. There we go. You have to be quite specific with your filters, or sometimes it comes up with rubbish most of the time, or nothing at all if you're too specific actually. But yeah, just need to get to know what the textures are generally called. Anyway, there you go. That's my room now. Might just really quickly notch this up a bit. It's a bit unrealistic. go, so there's my little room. So I really quickly select the player and right click on him in properties on one of the grid views, and then you can change his direction however you want with this. So I'm going to change it to 180. Right, so this is going to be our little start area for my tutorial. So today I'm going to be talking about block manipulation, of course. So I'll be talking about vertices and how you can use them, and certain things apart from rotation and duplicating. You now know how to duplicate and stuff. That's quite basic. But there's some handy tools on here which are very useful, such as the clipping tool, which you need to get used to using if you want to create slightly more complex maps. Right, here we go. So I'm going to stretch out this floor. Actually, I'm going to copy it actually. That'll be easier. There we go. And I'm going to make these walls a little bit longer. You can control click to select multiple things. If you want. Actually, no, I'm not going to make them. I'm just going to dupe them though. Control click just multiplies them, and you can use them for whatever of them. Whatever you want then. Anyway. Oops. Make it a bit smaller. There we go. I'm just going to make a simple little room-to-room corridor. So if I really quickly copy this room, I won't copy the player info player start. I'll just copy the actual room. So if you just shift drag and let go of the mouse button before you let go of shift, there we go. Then click on it again and then shift, and then click on all the corners to rotate it. There we go. Right, so now we have a little corridor going between two rooms. I'm just going to add another roof to this corridor. And you've got like the simplest of maps possible. You've got a room leading to another room for a corridor. Anyway, so what I want to do now, I think, is show you the vertices or vertex tool. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. I think it's a vertices tool. Maybe it is the vertex. No, that's vertex tool. Anyway, I'll show you in a minute. So what you want to do first, actually, I want my room to be at different levels, but I want the corridor to be sloping, let's say, upwards. But the only trouble is, if I were to say just rotate this corridor in this view like this, you would have to move it around and things, and you have to get it like that, and that doesn't look good at all. In fact, it looks absolutely rubbish. But handily in Hammer, there's a tool which can solve all your problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to really quickly raise this room again. Move it upwards a bit. There we go. Right, so I want this room to go up to that room through this corridor. So we're going to have to manipulate the corridor. So to start off with, you need to select all of it by control clicking. I'm just going to cut here, so we'll be back literally in a second. Okay, I'm back. Great. Anyway, sorry, Bandicam sometimes runs out of film. But anyway, yeah. So now you've selected all of this, you've got your two rooms at right levels. You want to select your corridor in both views, well, 2 times in the grid view. There we go. And you'll see that these 4 little squares appear around the corridor. Now you've already seen the normal translation, so you can rescaling thing, which everybody uses, of course. If you didn't use that one, I'll be worried. But anyway, yeah. And you've also seen rotation. So if you just click on the brush again, or the brushes again, then you can get the rotation tool. And then finally, if you click on it 3 times, then you'll get this handy little fella. So this is the vertices tool, I believe. I believe it's called the vertices tool. And this is the epic thing about it. Watch this. So you've got your 2 rooms, your little corridor, and whoosh. Look at that. I've immediately, I haven't, like, it's not coming through the walls or anything, it's not getting in the way, but you can perfectly slope it while maintaining flats on either side. It's absolutely marvellous. It's just great for making specific maps. So now if I wanted to, then I could walk up through here, and I could walk up to my other floor quite happily. Of course, some is a little bit restrictive, as if you think this slope's a little bit too large actually, because it's not a long enough corridor. But generally speaking, for making corridors which slope up and down, or for anything which slopes up and down really, which you want to maintain, so if you want to go between 2 levels with a ramp or a slope or something, this is an extremely useful tool, and I'd recommend using it. Just make sure that you use it at the right times and know when to use it. For instance, if this corridor at the moment is probably just about alright, but if this corridor was any shorter and I'd made it go up to the same level as it is now, then this slope would actually be a lot steeper, and if you try to get through the door, then you'd probably like get jammed on this bit here. So you need to be wary of height issues and things like that. But apart from that, it's a really useful tool. I'd recommend it. Right, now the next thing to sort out though, once you've done that, is you may or may not notice, actually it's probably not that noticeable, but the textures are all at one level. So it doesn't actually, the wall textures don't actually slope with it. I'll show you properly actually. If I select all the walls, I'll retexture them and they have better texture actually. So remember, control click and you can press Z in the camera view to no clip around type of thing. Whoops. Bit of lag there. Whoops. I do need to save it in a minute actually, but I'll do that in a sec. Always save your work. I mean, as soon as you started making maps, save your work and save it every 5 minutes. That's my recommendation. This is just a short tutorial there, so shouldn't have too much saving. Anyway, yeah. So I'm just going to really quickly browse for texture. Wall texture. Let's see. Here we go. If I got, say, a brick wall, don't ask me why. Yeah, actually that was alright. Be a car park or something, I don't know. Anyway, look, as you can see, the bricks actually stay at the same level, whereas you might want them to slightly slope with the floor. Not necessarily a good idea of all types of textures or of all types of maps. However, if you had something like a specific like stripe which you wanted to be going up like that and then stay at that level or something, then it can be very useful. Anyway, so what you want to do to fix this is, I'm not sure if it actually works in this version of Hammer, but if you click on the texture application tool and you select the texture which is at the right level and stuff, I think if you, no that didn't work, but wait a minute, yes, if you select this texture on the top of your slope, because it's at the right angle, if you just Alt right click the one you want, and you'll see that it's actually at the right sloping thing, and I want to do the same for this side as well. Of course now it's the wrong texture, so you want to select it and select both sides which you want, and of course get that brick texture back and apply, and now you have a sloping brick texture which goes well with the floor. Of course now the only trouble is the walls don't match with it on this bit. But there's another simple fix for that. If you select, I think if you select this and you right alt click on that, maybe not, wait. Hold on a second. Maybe not, but anyway, you can just shift it up and down with the Y and X and things. either side. You can do things like that. So that's a really easy way of manipulating your textures. And also it's really useful because if you right click on there, then you'll see that it actually aligns them so it fits all together, which is another really handy feature. So if you ever want to sort out your texturing or anything, that's quite a useful thing. Obviously I would spend more time on this and I would make sure this all lined up to make it look neater, but generally speaking, apart from using slopes, and it's very useful for just aligning textures which look slightly out of place. Okay, so here we are again. Now I'm going to be showing you how to use specific block types. So select your block tool, and then over an object, underneath it says block, click on the little arrow on the side of block. Once in there you'll see there's about 5 or maybe 6 if you're in the source engine, if you were doing source engine, types of objects. So these are block, the wedge, the cylinder, the spike and the arch. Now probably the most important one of these is definitely the block, which of course just makes a rectangular or square block or whatever, which you know how to use. But the other ones, such as a cylinder, can come in very handy. Or arches, for instance, can be used for roads. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you the wedge tool. Now this is quite a basic block which you can make, or brush, or whatever you want to call it. And what you do is you select an area like you would if you had the block tool selected. I'm going to make a square shaped one. And then you right click it and click create object, and then there you go, it creates your block. But rather than making a whole solid block, it actually makes half a block and it's split diagonally, so it makes a cheese-shaped wedge, as you can see here. It can be used for a fair few things. It could, for instance, if I were to just rotate this round, one here. Yeah, there you go. So if I had a house or something, then I could use something like that as a roof. Or, yeah. So it's quite useful for things like making roofs and houses. Obviously you change the texture by clicking on browse and using a texture application, and clicking apply once you've selected the faces you want. But yeah, so that's the wedge tool. It's fairly basic. You just make wedges, which are diagonally cut blocks. Okay, so the next block type or brush type I'm going to show you is the cylinder. Now all of these are basically just a block, but with certain bits chopped off them at certain angles. So they're all basically the same thing, they're just slightly different shapes and slightly different polygons. So yeah, so the engine can handle it quite easily, whatever block you use. Although of course a normal block would be easier to handle than say loads of cylinders or arches or something, because they have more complex polygon shapes. Anyway, so now I'm going to show you the cylinder. Select down a little area again which we want it on. I'm going to select a texture this time for barrel. Yeah, there you go. Whoops, I selected the wrong thing. Make sure you select the block tool every time. There we go. Yep, there you go. So if you see, or if you just right click and create object, it will create a shape of 8 sides, an octagon, an octagonal cylinder. So as you can see, it's not a seamless cylinder. It hasn't just got one face, it's got several faces. As I said about the about it a minute ago, about it all being a single, just a block with certain angles chopped off and things like that. Basically it's the same, like in the cylinder it isn't just one face. Whereas if you look at models in, I don't know, in Blender or in Team Fortress 2 and games like that, you'll find quite a few well-rounded things. That's because models are actually slightly differently made to blocks, and of course it's in the source engine, which is a much updated compared to the gold source engine which we're using right now. So anyway, so that's a normal 8-sided cylinder. Now what I'm going to show you is how to change the amount of sides that you have on it to make it more smooth, seem more smooth. What you do is we're just going to delete that, then we're going to select our block tool again, and on down here underneath it should say faces. Now you can notch them up to create more faces on the sides, which will give it a more smooth appearance, or notch it down to make less faces and more outstanding angles on the vertices. So I'm going to notch it up to make a smooth one first of all. There we go. So there we go, see? It's much smoother. You can barely tell that it's not a cylinder actually, if you're looking at it from the right angle, because of the textures partially, and partially because of the amount of faces we've added to it. Obviously you don't want to add too many faces, or else again, well, if you had if you were to compile it, then there's a maximum amount of faces, and if you're making a big map and you used up all your faces, you wouldn't be able to add any more blocks or anything. So it's good to keep it relatively low, not go insane. Like, hang on a minute, I'll just show you. So something like that would be fine. But if you were to notch this up to like 100, yeah, there we go. So a face count must be between 3 and 32. It can't be any larger or any smaller than 3 or 32. Well, it has to be in between those numbers. So yeah, be aware of that when you are making cylinders or any type of block, that you're only allowed a certain amount of faces. Anyway, so now that I've shown you that, I'm going to notch it down from, let's put it down to something like 5, because if I make it on 4 then it'll just be a normal block, which would be a bit stupid. There we go. Now I've made a pentagonal cylinder. It's a bit weird shape, this one. Actually, it could be quite useful for making, I don't know, a dog's kennel or something, but anyway, yeah. Yeah, so that's the cylinder explained. As you can see, you can make it smoother or less smooth, depending on how many faces you add on this little gadget down there. Now, I'm going to show you the spike. Now, this is basically a cylinder, but obviously in a spike shape. So you still have faces. The default is 4 for the spike, though, as opposed to 6 or 8 or whatever it is. I think it's 8 actually. 8 faces for 8 sides or faces for the cylinder anyway. Whereas this is a default of 4. Of course, you can change it. Again, I'm guessing it's between 3 and 32. But yeah. So I'm going to notch up to 8 like that. Make it look a bit more realistic. I'm going to right click create object, again like any block. And there you go. So that creates, as you can see, literally a spike just sticking out of the floor. I don't know if there's if you've played some other retro games or anything, but sometimes it's quite fun to have death traps with massive spikes on. That could be an idea for it. You can also use it for making limbs of trees, and I might show you that in another tutorial actually. But yeah, another time perhaps. But anyway, yeah, so that's the spike tool. Again, same amount of that. You can change the angles like you can for the cylinder. Okay, so I found a simple road texture, or tunnel texture, or whatever. I'm going to show you how to do a texture application on corners or on arches, which if you had a path or a road to make it look a bit more realistic. So first of all, I'm going to get a normal block, because you want to start out with a bit of straight road. I know it seems a bit odd doing it in this map, but I mean realistic, you'd have it outside. It could be anything actually, it could be a path or whatever. But anyway, yep. Nice bit of straight road there. That's fine, absolutely fine. Yep, that's how I want my textures. Let's say that's fine. Unfortunately, Half-Life doesn't have any actual road textures with lines on or anything, so I'll have to use this for now. Now then, what you want to do is there's 2 types of corners you can do for roads. You can do it like 90 degrees, which is like full on like really sharp turn, or you can do like a slightly nicer, gentler curve. I'm going to show you the really full on 90 degree one first. So of course we go on arch, select arch from our block tools, and then we'll just really quickly select that square. Make sure it's square, or else it'll be a bit of a weird word, and make it like that. Of course this time you'll want to, yep, actually that's we're in the right place. If I put that down to 7. Okay, that's fine. There we go. So that'll be our 180 degree. Now let's do another little short section of road over here. And we'll just, actually, if I select all of these and center them, and I'll take this 90, center, yep, that's, no, that was the wrong way. That's fine, I'll leave it like that. Anyway, right. Actually, wait a minute. Actually, better than that, you can click treat as one, and then you can just center, and then it will center all of them correctly to how you want them to be. Although this one is still not right. That's better. Right, okay. So as you can see, it's fine. You've got your brushes in the correct places, but this corner is really horribly dodgy. It just looks wrong. It's just not well made. The text. Why would lines be just drawn like that on a road? I don't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that. So what you want to do first is get your text application, select the face of your straight road, and Alt right click the outside bit. So that's the outside curve of your arch, that side, and Alt right click the side of your straight. So then you select this straight, and you Alt right click the side of the curve, and then you select that side of the curve, and you Alt right click on top, and that actually changes the angle of the textures, so it actually starts to curve it. So you'll do the same thing, Alt right click on that one as well. You always do it from each one, so this one is Alt right click to this one Alt right click to this one, etc. And you always use these to Alt right click on top for the top face. Just do the same thing for all of them. Alt right click, Alt right click, Alt right click, select, oh wait no, Alt right click, select, Alt right click, then select, Alt right click, oh whoops, wrong way, wait, no, that's better, select, Alt right click, then select that one, Alt right click, and that actually aligns it all so it's in the correct places. And there you go. So now you have a beautifully curved texture. That road is like perfect. It's perfectly curved, it's all smooth. Obviously if you had more faces then it would look much smoother. Again, you had to weigh the amount of faces and the big map in comparison to detail. But yeah, so as you can see, that looks absolutely great. That looks wonderful. That's quite good, that's quite realistic. If that was a road texture, then you can do the same thing. It's best to do it with lines on a road, which is why roads are best for this use. But anyway, yeah, so that's good. I'm just going to move this to one side. And now, oh crap, maybe not. Now I'm going to show you another one. If I really quickly, how am I going to do this? If I shift it along that way, oh no, that doesn't work. I'm just going to delete it. You know what to do. Anyway, you can always go back, whatever. Anyway, so now I'm going to, oh wait, no, maybe not. Wait, I'll just get rid of that part, the offendant. Now then, what I'm going to do is, if you leave a big space, and I'm going to show you how to make a more gentle curve. So make sure that the space is square between your two straight roads, or straight paths or whatever. And get to your block tool, and again with the art selected, do this. This is much more what you'll be using for making roads or paths or anything, because it's just so much smoother. It just makes it look much more realistic than the curve I just showed you. Although the curve I just showed you can be quite useful for like sharp turns and stuff. Obviously you don't get cars in a Half-Life engine, but it's good for detail. Anyway, so you want to Again, right click, create object. I'm going to change the... Now, this is where you change the wall width, because originally on that last one, when it was thick enough so that it was, well, you know, so it's proper like 90-degree turn. This time you want the wall width to be half, exactly half, the amount of what your road is. So that is, well, I think this anyway, hang on a minute. To get your road, at each little square is 8, so that means that up to 8 16, so half of 16 is 8. So you'll want to do this, change the wall width to 16, no, 8, I know that. Oh, maybe not. Actually, let's leave it on 38. That's probably, no, maybe not. Okay, that didn't work. This is different in the source engine. There we go. So anyway, yeah, 7 sides. 7 sides is usually best, or you can do 9 if you really want. Or even 11. 11's really good for good detail and textures and stuff. But I'm going to leave mine on 7. Yeah, that's my arch. As you can see, it's a properly smooth curve. It's not a direct 90-degree turn, sharp turn like we just did. So anyway, yeah, I want it like that. I want it with that angle. I don't want to add any height to it. There we go. So now then, we're going to move it along until, if we just move this out the way a bit, you'll want to stretch it until it fits on there. This really you should be able to specify by the wall width how exactly it's going to be, but I don't know what went wrong there. But anyway, yeah, so that's that side. Obviously this side you'd also change. Maybe one more little square. Oh wait, no, I know what I did. It was supposed to be 6. Wait, no, 216 32. Oh no. What you want to do is you want to change the squares into really small. I remember now. And it has to be each one of these teeny squares. Remember, you can change the squares in the grids with these 2 black keys. That's what I got wrong. So anyway, yeah, you had to measure it by those teeny tiny squares. Anyway, yes, so yeah, that's fine. That's the right length, right width. Is it? Yeah. No. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll just like rescale this, obviously, so make it more of a corner. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing we did a second ago. But of course, it will just be a smoother curve and be much more realistic. So we're going to grab your straight, grab that face, alt click, right click this face, select that face, and do the same thing to this face, and do that to the top face, alt right click each time, like that. Alt right click is the key. There we go. So that time I made it really quickly, and as you can see, it's got amazing effect. It looks so much better than that last bit. Okay, so here we are again. I'm going to show you one final tool in our arsenal, and that is the clipping tool, which is this tool right here. What you want to do before you actually click on the clipping tool is you want to select your select tool and select a block which you want to literally lock the corners off. So the clipping tool literally clips off corners at angles, and you can have it slanting or diagonal. It's kind of like a wedge tool, but of course rather than just splitting it diagonally in half, you've got more power with it. In fact, I would say it's better than the wedge block tool, but yeah, so it's extremely useful, used for all kinds of things, and one of the main purposes is actually splitting things. So let's see, if you select your clipping tool and you click and drag, that actually draws up this little line with a white dot on either end, this blue line. What this blue line is it shows you, both in the camera view on here and on the grid view, which bit it's going to chop off, or exactly what angle you're going to clip it, literally. So I'm gonna split this directly in half. I'm not gonna delete any sides, because if I were to press enter and actually delete one side, because basically it gets rid of or changes either side. So on one side it's basically like lines of symmetry kind of thing, but obviously you can do things like that and you can lop off whole sections like that. Anyway, so I'm going to split it in half. As you can see, it just has a red side and a white side. The red side is a bit which you chop off, and the white side is a bit which you keep. However, you can actually change it by pressing Shift X, and again you can swap sides. When the second time you press Shift X, it actually makes both sides white. What this does is, it's quite clever, is it actually means that if you were to press enter right now, actually splits these blocks, this brush, into two separate brushes. So it's not one brush anymore, it's actually two. So that can be useful for a few things. If you wanted to, I don't know, if you wanted to do really intricate detailing, then it's sometimes useful because you can split something. If you're not sure how long or whatever, you can just split it a couple of times, and then you can just get rid of a bit you don't need, whatever, and then you have it like that or whatever. You could use it for quite a few things. It's quite useful for making railway tracks, actually. Yeah, another thing you can do with this clipping tool is this. So now if you press Shift X again, you change it, and I want my row to end, like, I want it to just kind of taper off, so it gradually gets narrower, like that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the red side is this side, so the bit you want to chop off is on that side or whatever. Make sure that these white dots are exactly on the lines, because it makes it more accurate. Because if you were to have it over there, then you can see it actually changes how much it clips off on certain points. So you need to make sure that they're going on the lines at all times when possible to make it more accurate. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure your block is selected whenever you use a clipping tool, or else you won't be able to do anything. Shift X to change the sides. Press enter, there we go. So now my road kind of tapers off, and when it kind of just stops, it gradually narrows down. This could be quite useful if you're making a motorway or something for a bit of scenery, and it changed from a narrow road, or dual carriageway or something, it changed from a narrow road into a wider road, or from a wider road into a narrow road. You do things like that. Or same kind of thing with anything really. It's not just useful for roads, you can use it for lots of things. You can, like if you had a computer bank, rather than just having literally a square block, and you can make it much more detailed, and you could lop off bits you don't want. Of course you can use it on all sides, so you could do it like that, and it's actually really useful for making slopes. So this actually makes a sloped thing if you just select that and alt click. There we go. So it makes kind of a little slope and a kind of ramp, and then it's onto a normal road and stuff. It's especially useful for making slopes. Yeah. So all we need to remember from that is when you selected whatever bit you want to lop off or split in two, then you always press Shift X to change, and both white sides means you'll just split it in two. One red side means you'll chop off the red side and that side, or if you press Shift X again, then you'll change which side you cut off and get rid of. Yeah, so that's all good. That's basically clipping all in one, really. So yeah, that's quite simple. It can be useful for making terrain as well. I might get into that in another tutorial. Terrain is a little bit complex, so how to use the vertices tool, which I showed you here, as well as the clipping tool. But yeah, it's all good. So now we're going to jump ahead in game, and I can show you what it all looks like. So of course we got rid of our cylinder thing. I'll just really quickly add a cylinder to show you what it looks like in game. Really it looks the same kind of thing as this, but of course light can play differently on objects if you have lighting. I'm going to make it really simple and basic, so it won't have any lighting. I'll have it full black. Whoops, don't want to do that. Make sure you select cylinder first if you're making a cylinder, by the way. There you go. Right click, create object. Yep. No, I don't want that one. I want to change the faces. Ugh. Let's change the faces up to 11. Make it a bit more realistic. There we go. Bit smoother. Could be smoother, but it's alright. That's fine. So I just have a barrel sitting in the corner. And I'll have this really weird path track thing. Actually, you could also use this method for making train tracks, which is actually a lot more applicable to the Half-Life engine, because you can actually make controllable trains and stuff, which I will show you in another tutorial. There's going to be quite a few tutorials coming up. Anyway, yeah. So now, if you really quickly click on make sure everything's at the right level you want it. Yep, that's all good. Click on compile, but because I haven't added any lighting, if I were to compile this with everything on normal mode, when it'd be pitch black and you literally wouldn't see anything, you'd be walking around into walls and all kinds of things. So what you want to do to turn on full bright and turn off lighting, when you you select no on run rad. Okay, so yeah, I'll see you ahead in game, and just press OK. Yep. Okay, so here we are in game. As you can see, got my big room. Oh look, there's a small corridor. Oh look, it actually slopes upwards and you can actually walk through it. The wall wouldn't really look like that, but if you're making a sloping road or whatever, then it could be quite useful for changing textures like that. Anyway, come up here. As you can see, you have my little road. It looks, if that was a train track or road, then that would be quite detailed. That's quite good. Textures are all in the right places. And of course you've got your big cylinder, which when you change the textures on, of course, you can make it look a bit more realistic. I think you can, yeah, if you select if you got another block with the same texture, and you had the block on the right thing with four sides, you select the side of the block, right alt click onto the top, right now, onto the side of the cylinder, and then you could just do the same thing I'll show you do on the arc, just with the cylinder, and you can make all the textures correct. I think that should work. So anyway, yeah, that's basic block manipulation, or whatever you want to call it, brush manipulation, and I'll see you in another tutorial. Yep, thanks for watching. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.